Welcome to another episode of Dad Up, everyone. Thank you guys very much for joining me. I have my good friend Adam Belmont on the show. He and I have just recently connected, and I love what he's doing. He captures his family and everything that he does. So he's got this total work-life balance going on, but I'm really excited to have him on and to share a little bit more about exactly what it is that he's doing. But welcome to the show, Adam.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me on. Great to chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited for this. I love what you're doing. The stuff that you post is right up my alley. It's all about families. It's all about our family in particular. And let's just dive right in before we get going into further discussion. For my listeners, viewers who don't know who you are, let's talk a little bit about your journey, kind of how you grew up, and then how you got into what you're doing now. And then obviously, this is a parenting podcast, so obviously I want to know about your family as well.
Yeah, well, happy to start off with my family.
All right.
My wife and I have three little girls. So we have Sienna, who's 7, Isla, who's 4, and Elora, who's 2. And we're coming from a boy family. So I have 2 older brothers. My wife has 3 older brothers, and that's the last thing we expected was having all girls. But we're happy with the 3 that we have, of course, and that was kind of our goal when we were looking to create a family for ourselves. But we met in New York City. We were both corporate careerists, and we were honestly planning to always stay in New York City. That was kind of my wife is from Dallas, where we are now, and it was a journey to get here. But we actually were never planning to move here. We were planning to be New York City, power couple, New York City careerists. I work in PR and communications. She works in fashion and business. And so we moved to northern New Jersey and commuted into the city where we had our first daughter. And that's kind of when everything changed, when we realized that, maybe having a 2.5 hour daily commute isn't really the most hospitable way to raise a family. And I looked around in my office and saw that who else here has a big family that they are really involved in during the week? And I counted 0. If anybody around me had a kid, it was one kid, and they lived in the boroughs, and they didn't have to come into the city every day. This is, of course, pre-COVID. When we were expected to show up, and if you don't show up 5 days a week, you're not working. So that's kind of been kind of our crash course in realizing, wow, maybe there's a better way to live, and realize that as having a baby and dropping her off at 7 a.m. when daycare opened its doors, and rushing to the bus stop where everybody else were super commuters. And we had a good commute for what it was for the area. We had an easy, nice commute, and it was still 2.5 hours a day. So it
Wow.
was a lot of change and whatnot, and realize that, okay, having a baby right now is okay, but what happens when our kids get into sports and after school activities, when they go to elementary school and I want to see them during the week? I was basically not seeing them at all during the week. I was out for 12 hours a day, and I was only allowed to pick up from daycare 1 day a week. So
Hmm.
that was and that means leaving an hour early from work at 4:30 to get out to get out of there by 6 to pick her up. So it was just kind of a lot of things that kind of shaped who we became as parents, and really changing our life's priorities.
Hmm. And that caused you to make a shift.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it was one, having having our kids and starting a family, but also losing my mother-in-law, who we lost pretty quickly from pancreatic cancer when
Hmm.
our first daughter was 1. And that created a lot of shifts, of course, and we already starting to have life perspective change on after having a kid, and now losing my wife, losing her mom. So that brought her closer to her family, and she ended up kind of entering the family business. She works with her dad and one of her brothers, who are entrepreneurs in their own right. So she kind of started working with them as a bridge to kind of get closer to her family, that she had after losing her mom. So She no longer commuted at that time into the city. It was just me. And like I said, looking around, I realized there's nobody else like me. And I asked one of my superiors who had a kid, and I said, "Oh, how did you manage it? How did you make it work for you and your wife?" And his response was, "My wife stopped working." And okay, well, that's very fortunate position you were in. I wish that's not what my wife wants. She wants to continue a career, continue
Mhm.
her own work and whatnot. So there was just a lot of things kind of pointing us towards a figuring out what's next for us. Is this really what we want out of our life? And so we ended up after losing my mother-in-law and welcoming our first child, realized that we could move to Dallas, where my wife is from, and this was kind of not what we expected. And even when we were dating, I said, "We're not moving back to Dallas." That's just kind of one of our little prenup agreements. And so when I mentioned, okay, this makes more sense. We could have a better work-life balance and actually see my kid growing up. And so that's what we did. And we ended up looking for a house and ended up finding it during COVID lockdowns. And that's when we ended up moving. So it was crazy to do that. But that was kind of our journey. And of course, telling our family and extended family, and they all just laughed, realizing, oh, I told you so. Life is a little bit more complicated when you face some of life's hardships
Yeah.
and blessings of having a kid. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Now you said your wife was working with her dad and her brother. Well, I mean, if you guys moved, does that mean she's still working with them, but she's just working from Dallas or?
Yeah, yeah. So they
Okay.
all work remotely. They live locally, so
Oh,
they
okay.
they don't have an office, so they just work. So we both work from home.
Oh, that's
Um,
good.
yeah, so it's just a nice balance from that perspective, and able to actually send our kids off to school and receive them at the end of the day, and be there
Right.
for
Right.
the full time that they're
Isn't
home.
it isn't it crazy what the remote work environment has turned basically this culture or this society into? I think when for me, working in corporate America and working at a bank where, during COVID, there was a lot of working remote capabilities. And we're just the opposite though, where we've started to go back to, being in the office. And during COVID, during pandemic, I was in the office the whole time. I have a staff of about 9 people, and I allowed them all to work remote, and I went into the office just so that there was somebody there. But now that we're years past all that, everybody comes in now. So now we're all back in the office. But like my younger son works remote, 100% remote. He works in the sports industry, and he's just 100% remote. And then my older son, he works for Charles Schwab, but he's hybrid. So he goes in the office a couple days a week and he works remote a couple days a week. And it's crazy to me that there were some pluses and minuses to this whole season of the pandemic that we went through. One being you know the minuses being the people that got sick and the things that happened with people that were passing away and all that kind of stuff. But the pluses to it were opening up so many different possibilities as far as what we could do as a society when it comes to actually work. And not only that, I mean, Zoom took off. I mean, all these different,
Mhm.
outlets that we could communicate with other people and meet other people from all over the world. I mean, Zoom has always been there, but it really exploded because of the pandemic. And so, yeah, I mean, there were some good things and bad things, but it's good that you guys. I think one of the benefits to working remote is just what you said, the having the ability to be home where you can, run and pick up your daughter from school, or if they take the bus, you can pick them up from the bus stop or whatnot, and it's just a quick little trip. Whereas,
Yeah,
like you
absolutely.
talked about before, having to leave work, real early in order to drive to pick her up from daycare. is just shows you that working remote does have its benefits to things like that. I'm not a big remote guy. I find that working remote is a little bit more distracting to me because I find myself getting distracted by household stuff more than anything else, and so I prefer to not be home when I'm conducting my business. But some people it works for them. Like I said, my younger son, he loves it. He absolutely loves it. It does make it hard to hire staff, though. I will tell you that when I'm hiring people, the first question out of their mouth is, "Can I work remote?" And
Hmm.
my answer to that is always no, you can't. And if that's what you want, then this is not for you. So, anyways,
Yeah, and absolutely. At least it opened up opportunities, a
right,
new way of thinking, a new way of approach. There'll always be people that prefer working in the office or working remote, but at least it kind of opened up a new dimension of thinking where my um, old employer in New York City, pre-COVID, was if you're not here, you're not working.
right,
It's a very matter of fact way of approaching it where there's no way that you are considered working if you aren't
right,
sitting in a chair.
right,
So yeah, so at least of course they were forced to change and have evolved since then, but at least it provides freedom for those who have it and want it, and also you just even in the hybrid frame of mind, but also in terms of going back into the office for those who enjoy it. And I enjoy going into the office too. But I also appreciate and value the flexibility of doing it on my own terms as well.
right.
And
Yeah,
without an
no.
hour and a half commute where we would get a call in Midtown Manhattan saying, "Oh, where's the sippy cup? We can't find the sippy cup." And we're like, "I can't help you. There's no way I can help you. It's probably in the backpack."
Right.
One time we had to Amazon something that was actually they already had, but we had to Amazon a sippy cup, a bottle or whatever, powder or whatever, because they couldn't find it. We had no way of getting to them. The stress
Yeah.
of
Yeah. No, I get that. And like I said, I do have the capabilities to work remote. I have worked remote. Just when, things come up or I've been doing a lot of work. We've been getting a lot of work done around the house as far as getting things painted and doing different upgrades and things like that. So if I have workers that are here at the house doing stuff, I just had one here a couple days ago. So I worked remote so I could watch over what he was doing. But so I do have the capability to work remote. It's just I prefer to be in the office, less distraction. Plus, I like to be around the people. I don't want to be sitting in my house, by myself. I like to be around others and interacting with other people. So that's the other benefit of it as well. So,
yeah.
anyways, so how did that lead you into what you're doing now? I mean, let's talk about that because yeah, that's the corporate side of you. But let's talk about what you're doing on the other side. Your real passion, I guess you could say, your real passion is photography, and obviously, how did you get into all that, and where has that led you now?
Yeah, pure hobby, Brian. And I never had growing up had any interest in cameras or photography. I think just the requisite camp experience of going into the dark room and seeing all the lights and the trays of different chemicals and whatnot. And I was like, okay, cool. Like whatever. So it really wasn't, and I had no photographic influences growing up or anything, but it really started with our firstborn. And I said, I'm going to be spending all of this time with with this child or future children and everything. Uh, why not? I'm already going to be there. I'm already going to be present. Why not see if I can capture it? So, when my wife was pregnant, I picked up a camera, 3 months to go till due date. It was like, let's see if I can record what I'm experiencing. And I remember saying to myself, if I don't like it, that's okay. I don't have to do it, but I can just explore if this is something that is interesting to me. And I just wanted to feel like I wanted to see if it was something that appealed to me, honestly. And I'm one of those guys where if I'm super into something, I get deep into the wormhole and go deep into exploring that side of me, and that's just kind of what happened. So I spent a couple months just learning really relied on YouTube videos on how to use a camera, what the different dials do. Really everything. I had zero experience. So I just basically on my commute into the city was using that hour bus ride to watch YouTube videos after YouTube videos and just test it around the house and whatnot, and at least have some semblance of starting point when we welcomed our first child. And that's just kind of when I caught the bug, where during nap times, when baby was sleeping and newborn time, which was sleeping most of the time on the boppy and whatnot, and my wife would sleep because, of course, when baby sleeps, that's when you should sleep too, especially for the moms and nursing parents and whatnot. And I was sweating up a storm, Brian, and running around this newborn on a boppy, just taking pictures for an hour, hour and a half. The baby wasn't moving. There's only so many pictures to take, but it was exploring what happened when I stand over here. What happened when I do this or do this setting, and just learning how to take a picture. And I grew up from the perspective of my mom saying, "Everybody, look here," and then did the countdown one,
Right.
two, and if you weren't looking at the camera and smiling, she would start the countdown over again.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I grew up. And one thing that really appealed to me, even just when ordering the camera, was documenting life as it happened in just a documentary fashion and just an everyday life fashion, not looking for forced smiles or forced gazes at the
Right.
camera, me, but really about capturing what the everyday looks like,
Well,
rather than
how do you do that though? How do you go about capturing those candid moments with your family? What do you, I mean, tell me about your approach and how I guess, yeah, capture those candid moments with your children when they're, playing or sleeping or whatever it is.
yeah, having the camera all the time.
Right.
And that's a start, right? And nothing was off limits if they're crying. I mean, I would help them, of course, and I would be a parent first. But if they're crying, I would capture that. If they were playing, I would capture that. And there's also the debate, Brian, about being present and in the moment and absorbing it all and being involved and creating memories together or capturing them and finding that balance where I can do both to the best of my abilities, and sometimes I have to be a parent first and have to put the camera down. And currently, right now, especially with our 4 and 2 year olds, the camera is down more than it is up at the moment. But it's really just capturing, allowing them to play, and even being a part of the play and part of the engagement, but also being able to take pictures as well. So it's not like an either or where I'm 20 feet away and having to step back and only act as an observer, but I want to be a participant just as much. And so it's just, I think, for me and any individual to balance being present in the moment, having the camera down, but also just taking snaps and not having it be like, oh yeah, that was my dad. I grew up with him always having a camera in his face. Half the time I take pictures without the camera even up to my eye, and I just capture it that way. But it's just always having it around, and only taking pictures of what interests me. And at first, when first picking up the camera, like I said, everything interested me. But over the years, as I kind of found what really spoke to me and why I clicked the shutter when I did, was I able to be more discerning and more specific with what I was interested in. And there's days where I would bring up the camera and nothing would really speak to me to take a picture. And that was
Hmm.
fine too. It wasn't nobody, I don't have the perspective of my kids owing me a picture or owing me a moment. If it happens and if it unfolds, and there's something that speaks to me, I'll take it. And if not, I won't.
Yeah. I think about all the times that I wish there was these moments with my boys when they were growing up. My boys are way older. They're 26 and 23, and I think about these moments back when they were younger, and we didn't have the use of cell phones, so it wasn't anything like that. Like you actually had to have a camera or a video camera right at the ready for any of these moments, and there was I'm sure countless times where I was just like, I wish I would have had my camera available. I wish I would have had the video camera going. But then there's these moments that, we have these little, I forget what they're called, the little 8 millimeter videotapes that we put in the video camera, and we have a ton of those that we still have to convert, but we have a ton of those that we have watched, and it's so cool to see my boys when they were younger doing, silly things or singing or whatever it was. But yeah, I mean, think about the way that technology has moved us today. I gotta go. I've got to ask you one question, and then I'm gonna lead into another question. But my first question that involves equipment is, how many cameras do you have?
So I have one camera and I
Okay.
have one lens.
Okay. Okay. All right. I was
So
actually
yeah,
surprised. I thought you were going to say I have four cameras, and this camera does this, and this camera's for this, and this camera's for that. All right. So you only got one, and you got one. All right. So you,
I am simplified. And then of course we have our phones and
right.
we got to capture just random snaps too.
Right.
But yeah, so I focus on the simplicity, Brian, and of course everybody has their own approach, but I don't want to think when I take pictures. I want to be present, I want to be in the moment, and I want to be involved. So this allows me to not wonder, oh, I'm going to a football game. Should I bring a really long
Zoom lens.
lens
Yeah.
and zoom
Yeah.
lens and this and that. I just want to keep it simple and
Okay.
distraction free and have fewer decisions to make. And also
Uh,
from a documentary perspective, it's not in the real life moments of even brushing the teeth or whatever I'm capturing. It's not about having a zoom lens either. So it's really just having one that is kind of a does all catch all and
okay.
move my feet.
All right. Okay. So I get it. All right. So one cam. So you've simplified it. Not only that, you've budgeted a little bit as far as the amount of equipment that you're buying. I know people that that are into photography. That I've got buddies that are photographers, and they have all this different equipment that they use, and it's amazing to me the amount of money. You think just with with one little phone, how much those things cost, but the cameras and stuff. I know when my son was in high school, he got he had this obsession with photography for whatnot, and he decided he wanted to take this photography class in high school. So he had to have this Canon camera, and I forget what we paid for it. I think it was close to $1,000 for this Canon camera. And I said, okay, if we're gonna do this, this is going to be an all-in thing. Like you have to, because this is a lot of money, and you've got it. He's, oh, I'm committed, Dad. I'm for sure. Yes, I'm going to do it. Blah 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 blah. And it lasted that one class, and that was it. I think it's still sitting in his closet, like collecting dust. Like I can't remember the last time he's used it, but it's been years. I don't even know if it still works. But yeah.
Learn
So
your lesson on that one.
yeah, no, for sure. But now we're talking about, okay, so we've got the cameras, that we've got, our ability to capture our kids, but I've got a phone. And what's the difference between, and I don't know, I'm asking for my own, ignorance, my own stupidity. What's the difference? I mean, I know cameras can take a little better picture than a phone can, but these phones are pretty fascinating with the stuff that they can do now. I mean,
They are.
why isn't it just grabbing the phone and taking the picture?
I mean, yes, there are some technical differences and whatnot, but I think it comes from a place of intention. And I use a camera that is small. It is discreet. It doesn't draw attention and be like, oh my gosh, everybody, look, that dad has a camera and it does all these video things. It doesn't do anything with video. It just takes pictures and it's very simplified. So it really is kind of just allows me to focus just on one thing and do that well. So yeah, so I think it's really just about the mindset that allows me to enter more than anything.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that for me, when I'm taking pictures or whatnot, I mean, I don't even know how many pictures. I probably got 3,000 pictures on my phone that I need to transfer over. But
Sure.
I just think about the camera, and, if we go somewhere, like maybe we're going to, we're in California, so maybe we go to Disneyland or something, I don't want to carry around a big camera hanging around my neck or on my shoulder in a camera bag. I just use my phone, and that has made life so much easier than having to do it. bring that kind of stuff. But I could
Sure.
see a photographer, like I interviewed years ago, I interviewed a photographer that was he captured wildlife. And so he was out, he would go out hiking in like these and he'd go like all over the world, and he would do this traveling hiking where he would go out and capture wildlife in action, these action shots. And so that kind of stuff, I can understand having, the proper equipment to make sure that that picture is just right, because he's ultimately you're not at a place where you're like selling your pictures. He was ultimately selling his photography, his pictures to the public.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm not sitting in one spot waiting for the sunrise or waiting for the
right,
rhino to appear,
right,
and
right,
hunkering down there.
right,
But also when we take a bunch of pictures on our phone, we also don't look at them after we take them. We put them on a shared album so my parents and our kids' grandparents can see them and whatnot. But we really don't look at it. There's thousands of pictures on on these phones. And so, when I take pictures on my camera, I don't take thousands of pictures. I take maybe hundreds of pictures at a time. I delete the vast majority of them. But at least, so yeah, so I feel like a lot of people take a lot of pictures on their phone, but I wonder how much they actually look back at them.
right. No, I agree with you. I was, as a matter of fact, I was getting ready to do a post. I think I put it out today, and I thought of a post that I wanted with me, with my boys and me, and I was scrolling and scrolling because my boys are, my older son lives in Arizona, my younger son's always busy. I mean, so I don't get a whole lot of opportunity to take pictures of them with me together, the three of us. And so I had to scroll back, and I scrolled back several years in my phone to find, I think it was about 4 years ago, to find a picture that would work for my post. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I have a ton of pictures in there that I haven't even looked at, and first probably a ton of junk pictures in there that I need to go through and just clean out. But yeah, I think
Seems
it's
futile when you have that many. I have,
right.
I have, I don't even know how many thousands. I'm embarrassed to even look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When it comes to your kids, though, how often, and I'm sure this happens, and if you say it doesn't, I'm going to call you a liar, but how often does this happen where you're just casually just sitting around or relaxing, whatnot, and your daughter says, Dad, get a picture, give me I'm in the like, do this, take a picture of me, Dad, right
Yeah.
now, take a picture.
Yeah. Yeah, I take it. Absolutely. So, and what they do, and I'll just probably take it with my phone.
Okay.
That's what I have always with me. And I take it. I never want them to feel like I am capturing pictures just for myself. And I would never say, oh, so yeah, 100%. You won't call me a liar because that absolutely happens. But also, I never want to devalue them to the point where they don't feel seen by me by any reason.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
say, oh, this isn't a picture I take or anything, on my high horse like that. I'll happily just take the picture, show it to them. And our oldest, who's 7, loves to look at the pictures or take a video and let me watch it right after and those
Right.
kinds of things.
Right.
So yeah, so snap
Okay.
away,
Well, I'm
100%.
going to tell you right now, buckle up because that's going to end. You're
I
you're gonna
know,
you're
yeah,
gonna get to a
yeah,
point, trust me, you're gonna get to the point where your daughter's gonna be like, Dad, put the cam. I don't want my picture taken right now. My hair is not right. I don't have,
100%.
like my
Yeah,
hair is not perfect. No, I no, Dad, you're not taking a picture of me right now. Even though it's like that one of those moments where she's getting an award or she's at the school doing something or whatnot, it's gonna be Dad. I don't want my picture taken. Trust me. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, 100%. I believe you. That's to come, and I would respect that and put my camera down. But I
yeah,
think that having my camera around as much as I do, they are desensitized and see it as normal and don't
yeah,
see it as, oh, I'm doing this special occasion thing, so it deserves the fancy camera picture today.
right,
No,
right,
it's just every day deserves that moment and experience, and and I never instruct them to do anything. It's all documentary. It's all as it is, as I
right,
see it,
right.
as they are. So I think that's also a message to that I'm going to um, keep mentioning when they feel self-conscious and this and that is that you are enough as you are, and I'm not looking for anything different.
Yeah. Well, I use an excuse with my boys because they still do that to this day. It's like, Dad, I don't want a picture taken right now, and I'll use the excuse of I'm not posting it. I'm not. It's not going on social media. This is for me to keep on my phone. So please let me just take the picture. I will keep it. It's not going to go anywhere. No one else is going to see it. That kind of thing. Because they're worried that I'm going to use it and post it. That's what their
Yeah.
main thing is. Because I have a parenting podcast, so I do a lot of parenting posts, and it involves my family. So yeah, when I tell them that, they're usually pretty good about it. So I respect that side of it. And before I post anything of my boys, I always ask them, is this a picture that I can post? And they'll say yes or no. And I
Yeah.
respect it.
Yeah, and we have a lot of, and that's great. I love that approach. And we have a lot of pictures I take that I'll never share and I'll never post. And I know right now they don't have their own agency of self to say don't post this or post this.
Right,
So
right,
I maintain their dignity as best I can by only posting pictures that I feel are appropriate and my wife feels are appropriate. If my wife
hmm,
isn't comfortable with it, she'll say just keep that, but don't ever share that. That's just for us or whatever it
right,
might be.
right.
So yeah, I am sensitive to the point of putting content out there and sharing it out there, and being sensitive to help them preserve dignity even in their younger years where they don't
Mhm.
feel like their spotlight is on them or just looking back at their childhood that they feel that they were subjected to something that they weren't comfortable with at the time.
Right, right. Well, let me ask you one last question before I let you go. I think a lot of parents might be maybe they've got younger kids or something. They want to maybe get into photography or at least take a little better pictures than what their phone's allowing them to do. What would be give me a couple of tips that you could share with parents that would help them ease into to kind of getting into photography so they can be able to capture those moments.
Sure. Well, I mean, there's a whole genre out there called, if you type it in, documentary family photography. And that is all people out there, whether they're hobbyists, professionals, whatever it might be, who take pictures of their family in these real life, raw, authentic, everyday, maybe boring, mundane moments. And so searching for that is really helpful. I didn't find that until I was on my journey already. I already knew I wanted to take pictures like that. I didn't know there was a term like that. So that's called documentary family photography. Also learning on YouTube. That's how I learned. And that's like I mentioned, Brian, in terms of commuting and watching videos where I didn't want to read books. I wanted to stay up to date on how to take a picture, whether it's about my family or not, just understanding of the settings and whatnot. So at least that spoke to me of just watching YouTube video after YouTube video. And there's just, you're spoiled with content out there in terms of what's available, of course. It's limitless, but that's always at least spoke to me in terms of a easier way to pick it up. And then other than that, it's just uh, picking up a camera, picking up a cheap camera, maybe a cheaper one than you got your son, Brian.
Right.
Not to reopen old wounds there,
Right,
but
right.
just pick up something that's a handful, hundreds of dollars, and test it out with a lens and see if it's something that interests you. And not removing the pressure from it, where, oh, if I don't get this moment, or if I don't, I guess it's more of a mindset thing of, if I don't capture this moment, oh, I missed it. I missed it. There's how many thousands of seconds of moments every day that we spend with our kids and without our
Hmm.
kids. And if I miss something that I wanted to take, maybe I'll remember it for the next time. Be like, oh, okay, that's a good note to make. But there's so many moments out there that not everything has to be captured and
Hmm.
not everything needs to be memorialized. So I think it's just kind of maintaining a healthy balance of taking pictures, but not beating yourself up when you don't take pictures. There's no obligation, no expectation. It's just whatever any individual's comfort level is.
Yeah, yeah. All right. And that was you said what was the name of that site again that you said if
Oh,
for
it's just a genre of documentary family photography.
documentary
That's just
family
kind of the
photography?
general
All right.
space when you're looking for capturing moments authentically of your family.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Well, listen, Adam, let me give you a chance to, if people want to look you up, learn a little bit more about you, best places for them to do that.
Sure. I mean, you could check out my photography at photojournalguy.com and Instagram at the same name. And that name comes from photojournalism and photojournalist. So that's kind of taking pictures in a documentary way. So yeah, that's photojournalguy.com, or you can also find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Adam, for being on and sharing your journey as a parent and photographer. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to continuing our friendship.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Brian, for having me on. It was great to talk with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, guys, it's been another episode of Dad Up. I want to thank my good friend Adam Belmont for being on the show. Make sure you guys check out his link in Instagram and also on LinkedIn. Make sure you give him a follow and check out what he's doing. His photography is phenomenal. He's got a lot of stuff on there, and it's really, really good stuff. So make sure you guys do that. And if you guys are not yet subscribed to my show, please make sure you subscribe to it so you don't miss any of the awesome guests that I have on each and every week. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode of Dad Up. Wow, another amazing episode in the books. So much was shared, and I'm truly grateful my guest was able to pour into you to help you elevate your dad game and really dad up. Make sure you bang that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're here, please don't forget to leave me a rating and a review. I always appreciate the feedback. And one last thing, don't forget, your role as a dad is one of the most important roles you have. So if you need a little help or have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website at daduptribe.com or at my Instagram page at Dad Up Podcast. Until next time, everyone, Dad Up.